Hi everyone, this is Luca Ecari here from lucaecari.com. Welcome to my review of Kickstarter. I feel entitled to provide my review after 4 years of use and more than $25,000 spent and pledged on projects supported and published and shared on Kickstarter. And the question is, right, what do things like this, and even the tool that I'm using to do this and this, or still, where did I go? This, keep following, or this, or this, or even this have to do with Kickstarter, and even this. Well, they've all been published as projects on Kickstarter. As a matter of fact, here, this is my vital space, and as you see, it's quite busy. And what I can tell you is that you can find pretty much everything on Kickstarter. For those of you who do not know, Kickstarter is the platform, the first platform since 2009, I believe, that's providing direct crowdfunding opportunities to creators around the world. And up to December 2019, they've been able to collect more than $4.6 billion in pledges, which is humongous. It's fantastic, right? But there are lights and shadows about Kickstarter. And while I've never created a campaign and funded it on Kickstarter, I have been funding more than 140 projects, as I told you, spending and investing. I'd like to think about it as investing more than $25,000 over 4 years of use. I originally registered on Kickstarter in May 2016. I think I'm feeling entitled to tell you a bit of my story, because while it is a great opportunity, while there are even other competitors of Kickstarters out there, Indiegogo, above all, and I will shoot a different video about Indiegogo because it's a slightly different platform, whereas Kickstarter provides several advantages. The biggest one, as far as I'm concerned, is that a pledge is not collected from your credit card until a project is actually successfully funded, while Indiegogo asks you and demands you that you fund immediately. And so the funds are collected from your credit card the moment you click on pledge. Even though the campaign might not be successful, they are different platforms, but they are both, Kickstarter and Indiegogo, based on the assumption that, and they tell you quite real, right? Quite frankly, quite openly, we are not shops. We are not your regular store. You shouldn't come here expecting to have the same service, the same palette, the same range of services and products that you might find in the physical store. And in essence, it is right. So the way you should think about Kickstarter, let's talk about Kickstarter now, is as a crowdfunding platform for creators around the world, as I told you at the beginning, that want to expose their project, give it worldwide visibility, and get the opportunity to collect money, to raise funds for their projects. Now, I think that this is fantastic. This is exactly in the spirit of the open world we live in, the connected global environment we live in, at least on the positive side. And it gives really the opportunity to people like me, from the comfort of my home, to navigate, browse through thousands of projects that are very creative, ranging from food, from clothing, to eye apparel, even this thing that I'm going to talk about very briefly, and many other projects that result in products of design, of technology. I'm particularly fond of technological products that you can find, because you can find the most crazy ideas there. And from a product creator perspective, it really gives you the possibility of raising funds. Whereas, from your home, not having access to joint ventures, to global funds, not being part of Shark Tank, you might not get ever these possibilities. So it's really a great opportunity. Now, this is where the positives on my end stop. So the promise is great. A worldwide, visible store or, let's say, platform to get visibility of creative projects around the world, and a great tool for you if you are a creator to publish, advertise, promote your projects, your creativity, and fund it. And there are very good success stories that started in Kickstarter. I'm going to talk about a couple of them that I know because I've been one of the first days investors or pledgers in their projects. But the reality is that the majority of the projects, of the campaigns, are either failing or will never really get you a product that works. But before I talk about that, let me give you some statistics. So for that, I will need to show you some numbers that I put together based on my experience. So have a look. Now, there is a high chance that you already know Kickstarter. You probably have been using this platform since a while. And I'd be definitely interested in understanding what your experience with that is. What do you think about that? For once, I do really think that Kickstarter is a great platform. So let me start by saying that. Do I see challenges? Yes. And I do not only see challenges, I've been experiencing challenges. So just to recap very briefly, you might know already of Kickstarter, but perhaps you've never really used Kickstarter yourself. And I still know many people out there, many of my friends who never have used Kickstarter and don't even know that it exists. Kickstarter was born in 2009, if I'm not mistaken, and up until December 2019, it has been collecting more than $4.6 billion in pledges for projects, right? What Kickstarter is essentially is a marketplace, unfortunately guys, I cannot find a better word, that puts in communication funders like me, somebody who's willing to pay and support a creative project of all sorts, and you as a creator who want to have global visibility and global possibility to fund your activities and projects. So pretty much is a crowdfunding platform. But the good thing about this is that if you see that, you can really browse through different categories, and really whatever have you, food and craft, games, music, publishing, design and technology. There are a couple of ones that I'm most fond of, like design and technology, like food, like clothing, and it's really down to you what you like to purchase, what you'd like to try. But you can get a general sense even from the main page of Kickstarter of what kind of projects are being put to the front for you as a potential supporter. Look at that, for example. Tenno by Lumio sound in a new light. These are all things that you cannot really simply find on a shop. And truth be told, Kickstarter tells you that, right? They tell you, hey, you're not simply buying a product like you were on Amazon or on eBay or on any other shop. This is a creative space. If you decide to pledge your money for any project that we have on our platform, you are accepting to inherently accept all the risks that go with that project. And risks being pretty much of two kinds, that you're never going to get your product, so pretty much you're going to lose your money, and that you're going to get your product, but with several challenges, timing being one of them, and even adherence to the main expectations, right? You might not exactly receive what you pledged for and say, hey, but listen, but I really didn't pay for this thing, I was expecting something else. Unfortunately, that happens. And in my experience, it's actually quite a common thing. This that I have here, this necklace, is not simply an apparel, an accessory. This is one of the most innovative projects, technology and sport-related projects that I remember I have pledged and supported on Kickstarter. If I'm not mistaken, I received these roughly 3 years ago in 2017, and this is called the Trainer V, actually written VI. If you go on Google for Trainer VI, you're still going to be able to find articles, very interesting articles about that, as one of the most interesting, sophisticated, innovative products. And in all essence, what it should have been is a very advanced or artificial intelligence enhanced coach for your sport activity and running activity. So it has a barometer, I think it has some other trackers, a gyroscope. So very many different sensors that combined with the power of an AI platform should have really
being enabling you to be coached, and hearing the voice of your coach assistant telling you, hey Luca, what are you doing? You're going too fast, or you're going too slow, or try and pace your step in a different way. And tomorrow you walk or run 5K instead of 10K. So things like these. Unfortunately, all the highlights, all the bright messages and key fantastic messages that the creators put out there when you're visiting their campaigns on Kickstarter are more often than not representing just an idea of the product. Even as good as it might be, the prototype that they're having in their hands, or just the representation of the prototype. Many times these people don't really even have a prototype yet. They're asking for even money to realize that prototype. Is that it's probably going to not exist yet. This is a truth, and I cannot hold it against Kickstarter nor them. But what I think both Kickstarter and the campaign creators should be better at is at providing a clearer disclaimer on the risks that are there. Now, they're doing it here and there, but usually you find those small writings in the middle or just at the bottom of everything you read. And after going through pages of pictures, videos, and texts already, you're not really going to focus on those small writings in there, are you? So I've done a bit of the heavy lifting for you. I told you that I pledged for more than 140 projects on Kickstarter, spending more than $25,000 as of yet to date. And I put together this list based on the pledges information that I found on my account on Kickstarter. Truth be told, I have to combine it with several external information that Kickstarter does not hold. But that is inherently just related to my experience. So, for example, did I get it? Did I get what I pledged for? Yes and no. What is my feedback? What is the category that it belongs to? There is not even a categorization of your pledges in your pledges screen. Is it a smart wearable, game, charger, whatever? And then what I consider to be, to date, the best indication of whether I really consider a pledge on Kickstarter from my end to be successful or not. Am I still using that product? Like this, honestly speaking, guys, I found these back a few months ago. I didn't even remember I had it anymore. It was good, for the time that I could use it, those 2 or 3 months. But then after a while, visiting, even just the application, I wanted to see if the company in the meantime had provided any upgrade. And unfortunately, I didn't find any upgrade. I don't even think that the company exists anymore. And unfortunately, this is even the case with these fantastic Vinci headphones. Google it, by all means, Google it. These were supposed to be some of the most advanced headsets out there, combining the power of 4G, 3G, we're talking about 2-3 years back, guys, and you see this headset with a sensor in it and with a screen, which is essentially a smart computer based on an Android Lite OS version. The reality is that these things are fantastic products. I mean, you have them, they really feel nice, but they're not a piece of furniture. If you buy a table, you know that a table is always going to have 4 legs. With these things, today, technology products, you're expecting the software to enhance your capabilities and your utilization by a factor of at least 1, meaning to have new capability, at least 1 capability every time they release a new software, which in this case, in these 2 short cases that I showed you, has never really happened. I mean, this thing here, the V Trainer, has not received any update to its application since 1 year now. And so, you need to be conscious about these risks. So let me tell you now a bit of the numbers. Oops, sorry, I clicked where I shouldn't have been clicking. I actually should buy a new laptop, definitely. Okay, first things first. I created this category, okay? The feedback. So, my feedback here is based on both the what has my experience with the product been, and also what has my experience with the creator, with Kickstarter, with the payment process, with the delivery side of things been. Unfortunately, and I have to say that, for more than 30%, more than 1/3 of the experience that I collected through my 141 pledges with Kickstarter, the experience that I got has really been horrible to me. Horrible means that I either did not really get anything out of my pledge, out of my money, or that, at times I had delays of up to 1, 2, 3, or even 4 years. I mean, there are things that my wife sometimes asks me, what did you order now? It's like, listen, I didn't order anything. And then I find boxes that keep arriving for pledges that I paid on Kickstarter in 2016. So it is abysmal. So if that is the case, just know that this is one of the most prominent risks that you're going to undergo, and probably going to be one of the major experiences. It accounts to 1/3, probably more, of my experiences in terms of the number of campaigns that I've supported on Kickstarter so far. There have been some great... by the way, I told you that I pledged for more than $25,000. The reality is that I probably pledged even for more than $30,000. The money that you're going to see, these $23,884 that I converted from my currencies pledges on Kickstarter, only show you the money that you pledged and that go through Kickstarter. The reality is that creators nowadays are becoming even smarter, and one of the two things is going to happen. The first thing is probably going to be more common, in that you're going to buy or pledge for a product or service on Kickstarter. You're going to send your money to Kickstarter so that they can actually escrow the amount of money, and send it to the creator of the campaign to start using it to fund the activities. And then once the tooling, the preparation, and the planning, the production from a campaign creator's perspective is approximating in the end, he or she is going to get back saying, by the way, I also have these enhancements and upgrades, do you want to buy them? And this money would not flow through Kickstarter. There is even another possibility that I'm finding even more annoying, and you do not know necessarily from the start. It has been the case with a couple of items I pledged for on Kickstarter. You're going to pay not just for the good itself of the campaign, but you're just going to place a reservation. So it has happened, for example, that I had to pay a reservation on Kickstarter, but it was not very clear since the very beginning. And after a while, they told, hey, listen, guys, you're only placing a reservation if you want to really get to the completion and then get your pledge. Guess why I pledged in the first place? You're going to get to send more money, and it's not a scam. I just think it's really a communication issue. Both the creators, but especially Kickstarter, should do a better due diligence, and expecting that the creators go through a better due diligence of talking about the risks, talking exactly about where they are, giving updates, constant updates. And if you want to talk about, I can show you another project that I backed on Kickstarter. I thought it was really, really cool. This AI-powered smart mirror for your home. So I thought, cool, now I'm going to get, this Iron Man-like experience whenever I go to the toilet and ask, hey, mirror, how do I look today? And of course, having hit completely lying to my face. Now, see, your voice matters. How do you feel about this project so far? This is my indication. Kickstarter asks for it. Negative. But the fact is that Kickstarter is living in a combination of both not having great conviction. I mean, they're asking these questions, but never really doing anything with this information that they give you or that they ask of you. And on the other side, they're not really having any tools, I guess, from a legal perspective to really pursue the campaign creators. I need to remind you, and you're going to find it written here and there, especially in small writing, this is not a shop. You are buying and pledging and giving your money to support projects that might never see the light of day. And unfortunately, in my case, this has been the case for more than 30% of my pledges, where I've never really seen any product coming my way, or where, even the things that I received didn't really respect what I was expecting at the very beginning, or even I could use for some time like this, but after a while there was not really a point. And this is an example of the worst examples to me. This was a fantastic project. You can see my pledge here. I pledged, if I remember correctly, roughly $500. So it's not exactly a low expense item. Yeah, $449 plus Switzerland is notoriously probably the most expensive country in the world to ship things to, from anywhere in the world. So $528, this is what I pledged, and I paid to Kickstarter. And you see here, let me go to the pledge again, because I think that this was supposed to be delivered by on or around December 19. I was with probably another 600 or 1,000 backers. So 1 year ago, I should have received this 1 year ago. The last time the campaign creator updated this page was February 29th, 2020. The reality, and you will see that from the comments page, is that many other people like me didn't receive anything. I actually think that nobody received anything. Okay. So what happens in this case, and what happened in this case? I found very few instances in which the creators of the campaign admittedly announced that they couldn't really honor their promise. They wouldn't have been able to deliver the goods as advertised, and hence they would refund. Really a tiny part. And even if and when that happened, it normally happened with with many delays in between. And I'm not talking about 1, 2, or 3 months delay. I'm really talking about 1 or 2 years delay. But unfortunately, the common experience on Kickstarter is that people just present their projects and get the money, give themselves those few months that you as a supporter, as a pledger, would think normal, right? They need to start somewhere. When they just collected the money. I'm willing to expect that there are going to be a few months, and they publish the timeline. And then all of a sudden, their updates become scarcer and scarcer, to the point where they're not sending you any more updates, and they just simply disappear. These that I'm showing you on the screen is one example. Another example is this. And again, this is Vinci, the headset Vinci I showed you briefly before. Quite a cool piece of tech, and to be honest, quite nice and comfortable. But the reality is that once this thing arrived, it was all of a sudden the campaign creators stopped shipping. I don't think that everybody just got this. I think I was one of the, I don't know if you want to say the lucky ones, because this thing doesn't really work anymore. There were no more updates, and now if you go on their site, well, the site is not existing anymore. And the few videos that were published on YouTube, they also have been removed. Unfortunately, you're going to experience that this is the case, especially with electronic products on Kickstarter, right? And what could you find interesting here to know is that these are all things that you need to be conscious about before you buy. Because, you end up like me, and so what sort of person do you need to be to go on Kickstarter? I guess you definitely need to be somebody who's able to spend here and then some money without the expectation that you are necessarily going to get what you pay for. I know it sounds strange, but honestly, it's not more strange as when you're paying an insurance. You pay an insurance to cover the risk. Well, here you're paying the insurance that you are actually not going to get. You might get something. I know you need to look at it in an opposite way, but it's pretty much when you are also opening a position, when you're trading, if you're trading in stocks or options or whatever, right? There is not really the certainty. There is never 100% guarantee or likelihood that your trade is going to be successful. Pretty much that's the same here. So if you're one of those persons that likes to buy technology products, by all means, and you are, aware of the risk, and you're willing to wait, and you're also willing to accept the fact that ultimately what you might get is might not be 100% consistent with what you have been told, then by all means, Kickstarter is the place. I mean, I've been buying things on Kickstarter that I still use today, a vast minority, I would say, but there are examples, and I'm going to show you a couple of them. So pretty much this is my experience with Kickstarter, and what can I say? Kickstarter should probably do a better job at being mindful of the communication that they send out to their supporters, and they should demand a more accurate due diligence. I am not aware, but it's not because it's not disclaimed, of the percentage of the pledges that Kickstarter keeps for themselves. There must be fees. Ultimately, it's a business model, right? They are going to get money from the successful campaigns. And let's say you pledge $100 and the campaign creator said, I'm only going to consider this campaign successful if it reaches, I don't know, $10,000 or $100,000. Then they are going to get a percentage of anything that they considered beyond the success threshold. And I think it's roughly 2 or 3%. Don't quote me on that. It's somewhere there. This is of less interest to me, but you can definitely find that information out. So let's get to a quick summary then about Kickstarter, my experience after having invested more than $25,000, probably even more than $30,000 in pledges on Kickstarter. And I talk investing for a reason. I don't say just buying, because this is not buying. This is you investing and therefore exposing yourself to risk. Let's have a quick look at the summary, and I'm going to show you a few other gizmos that I purchased through Kickstarter.
So by now you've understood that Kickstarter can really be about shiny objects. You really need to be careful. When you're seeing the campaigns that are there, you're going to find very many of them that are very sleek, they're very well done. And truth be told, I'm one of those people. I'm one of those persons whose attention is really caught by a message that is well told, is well packaged, is well narrated, with a lot of pictures, with a lot of graphics and videos to see and watch. But the reality is that in this world and in the world of Kickstarter, this is not a guarantee. For as good as a campaign advertising material is done, you have no guarantee that there is a real product behind that, or that you will ever get the product or the service you're pledging for. Ultimately, this is not to the detriment of the creators, but I think that Kickstarter should really do a better job at controlling, checking what the creators are doing. Because based on my experience, more than 40% of the campaigns I pledged for, out of 141 campaigns that I pledged for on Kickstarter since 2016, I did never receive anything. And when I did receive something, I really received things that were not conform to the expectations. I mean, this is another one, right? The Cashew Wallet. You're probably going to find it somewhere. If you go on Kickstarter and you search for it, you're going to see that. And what this is, or should have been, is a box where you might store, I don't know, your wallet, your money, your credit cards at home. And ultimately, you connect Bluetooth with your phone. You could program it with your app and use this as a button to open it using your fingerprint. I received it. This is one of the lucky examples where I did receive something, and I stopped using it after a while because it was not ergonomic at all. It was not practical at all. It is a well-built box and it worked, but the application has not been updated since more than 2 years, I think. I would, and I hope it sounds like I might have put something inside. I need to find a way of opening it. But most of these companies either are not going to send you their products because they're not going to be able to create them, or at times, unfortunately, probably their game plan all along was just to get the money and not do anything about this, or they're going to be so short-lived because there's no going to be an audience for their products. And this goes for the V-Trainer, this goes for Da Vinci. This is actually one of the cool ones that I bought. This is a multi-adapter with USB-C, multiple USB and international adapter, you see here. So these things, I think you can find a way of realizing whether a company on Kickstarter, a campaign, has a likelihood of succeeding. Look at their track record, right? This company here, this is called Card. I don't know whether that's really the name of the company or not. You're going to receive this. This works. This doesn't require any software update. It's really going to be easy for a company, definitely easier for a company to create something like this, having shipped, and then to say, I don't need to update anything because there is no software I need to update. There's not going to be over-the-air updates that I need to perform on this. So you are going to be confident, and that's why I bought these in the first instance 2 or 3 years back through Kickstarter, because these guys had already previously created something of which this was essentially an enhancement, but they successfully delivered their products worldwide already, receiving pledges that probably went beyond their own expectations, like collecting hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. And so that's why I decided. So you have a way, look at the track records of other products that same campaign creators have realized on Kickstarter. Chances are that if they've done it once, they are going to be able to do it again. They definitely will have a reputation to maintain, and they have a user base, right? They have many more people who bought them a few years before that might say, I'm really happy about this product, I'm going to buy again. So, my case in this instance. And, just follow me. And I have other products to show you, like, this one, Sandstone. It's one of those great products that also, enhanced by artificial intelligence, one should have been wearing like that, or I don't know, attached anywhere really. And by activating it, this would automatically transcribe whatever you are saying, or even in a conversation, and store it in a Word document, in a Google document, all done by voice recognition and artificial intelligence. The reality is that for as good as certain ideas are, and I was honestly, I think I broke it, never mind. I was really compelled by the case, by the use of the technology for something like this. I didn't break it, but the reality is that the use cases when a product like this is advertised are not always crystal. You're not always going to know how exactly your experience is going to be with that, and if it's really going to be useful. Most of the time, and let's face it, beyond food, but even with food, we have emotional choices. If we see something, we want something, we buy it. And guess why Amazon is making $1 billion every year, and they're extremely successful with their e-commerce, right? That's because they know that the impulse buying from their visitors is paramount. That's why they created the one click. Unfortunately, Kickstarter doesn't give you that. There is a pledge that you're going to get, but before that you're going to give, essentially. But before you're going to get your products, you might even wait for multiple years. There are several success stories. They're not the majority in reality. This is one of them, the Smart Halo. I think that if you go on, here it is, the Smart Halo, something that you would attach to your bicycle and pretty much make it smart in terms of enabling it to guide you, give you directions, lights, sound indications, some level integration. They have now the Smart Halo 2 that I pledged for. I didn't use this for long, and but you can find it still on Amazon. That was a testament to the fact that the product was good, well received, and there were people that could buy it, that wanted to buy it. Ultimately, you see me? Yes. Nura, oi, where are you going? I'm here. I'm here. Yes, follow me. Follow me. Yes. Now that thingy, the pedestal that is following and tracking my face is another pledge from Kickstarter. I think I received it about a year ago. I never unpacked it. I unpacked it today. I'm trying. It works really good. And I have to say, apart from this episode and glitch, you can see that it's following my face. The application. So that's another thing that you can do, right? You can see whether that company has a track record with their other products and applications of being constantly updated. And piva is one of them. By the way, I think piva in Russian means beer, if you didn't know. Nura is also another outrageously successful product that I backed on Kickstarter. And if you go to their Nura phone site, you're going to be able to also purchase directly. It's an incredible headset with audio, personalized binaural audio experience, really, really nice. I don't have it here inside because I have it there in my multimedia room to use it with my Xbox and stuff. What else? You can find things like these. This is a calendar. This is a perpetual calendar that I've never really used because I've always had a phone with me. I found these, right? Arduino. So if you're going, I just don't want to tell you about everything that I pledged for because it's probably too long. I don't have the time, and I don't even have everything here to show you. But essentially, be careful. When you're pledging on Kickstarter, be aware you're not buying a product. You are betting on the chance to get something. That, in my experience, one time out of 10 is probably going to be close, very close to your expectation, and you're going to receive it. In the remaining 90% of the instances, it's very likely that you're either not going to receive your product, that you're going to receive something with much, much delay. I did receive, in fact, a smartwatch that I pledged for that was made for kids, right? For my kid. I have 2 kids. I just wanted a smartwatch for one of my kids with GPS to be able to track him when he was outside, perhaps going to school, and just make sure that, didn't get lost or have any means of reaching him if necessary. Well, the product just came with 3 years delay. And once it came, I had no more use for it. Not because the tracking would not have been useful, but because the product looked outdated, the services looked outdated. There were also additional costs for those services, and to be honest, in those 3 years, I had already opted for other more commercially available products that did the same thing, if not better. The categories that worked really, really well for me on Kickstarter are 2, and unexpectedly, right? But on second thought, and I'll tell you why I think that's the case, they have been really good surprises. Food and clothing, apparel. And by apparel, I mean, for example, leather goods. So, food. 90% of my experience related to food and clothing is that they are going to deliver. They usually have a track record, and the supply chain, the logistics, everything related to creating and shipping the product are actually much simpler if you need to create clothing than if you need to create a digital product. Also because 99% of the digitally enabled products that you're going to receive are manufactured in China. So the people and the campaign creators are going from a distance to connect with outsourcers, to suppliers that they probably never haven't seen in their life before. So unfortunately, the world of Kickstarter is full of wannabes. With all good intentions, I cannot just give a fully positive score to Kickstarter. I'm now narrowing down my pledges on Kickstarters to the campaigns from creators that I know because I purchased previously from, and from campaigns that honestly give me a very good risk-reward ratio. That means if it doesn't cost too much and if it doesn't have a great complexity, am I really going to lose a lot of money if I just pay $50 for a super modern hood, fleeced hood that might not come, versus buying an artificially intelligence enabled mirror that might never come, and in fact it didn't. Right, and food as well. I bought chocolate. There was these Fair Afrique, and Google that, guys, if you want. I think there are a couple of German guys who created their company to give the people in Ghana the possibility of actually retaining the earnings of the creation of the chocolate they were producing. Be mindful of the fact that usually the chocolate beans are not maintained in the country, but they're shipped outside of the country, paid very, very low amounts, and then created into chocolate outside in other countries, and pretty much all the rewards, the financial rewards that come from the production of chocolate, don't remain in country. These guys, I bought a subscription through Kickstarter with them. I received a bunch of chocolates. The chocolate was fantastic. It was really, really splendid. Everybody who tried that told me, where did you find it? And I told them, listen, you cannot really find that. You can only find it in these situations. So there are very good, very nice stories. Unfortunately, this is only the minimal part. So keep your risks down, find the category of products, services that you're most interested in, and base your choice and your pledges on the track record. There are ways of checking track record of certain companies. If a company does something that sounds too good to be true, did I mention an artificially intelligence enabled mirror already? Well, if that does sound to be good, it probably is. And the fact is that especially in the digital world, things are moving so fast and the complexity is also of realizing hardware circuitry and having that, produced and then shipped is also not something negligible. I try for simple things like chargers, and I also have very positive experience. Headsets, do go for that. Based on my experience, at least, I have more positive experiences than not. But with other typical products that require frequent software upgrades, you undergo the risk 90% of funding a product that you might receive, but that might be really, really short-lived. Because the company might not have the finances, the resources, or the sustenance to keep going. And so you would find yourself with an empty shell ultimately. That's it. I think I still have many boxes to open still. This is another thing that I bought, the MV stove. And it's because, I don't know why, but I just thought, that I'm going to use these, cooker. This is an all-weather cooker, something you can place outside without using charcoal, and that is going to work in any weather, except if it rains, I guess. I've never really used it, but I will. So some of these are just going to be lying there for you to wait using them. Some others still are going to wait for you to realize what the best use of things is. So, for example, the Sandstone, right? Difficult at times, you are seeing some shiny objects, treat them as such. But again, I guess that the right profile of a Kickstarter supporter is you need to be a bit crazy. You need to be aware, having the possibility, and cope with the fact that you will have to throw some money down the toilet. Unfortunately, that's the reality. But that's part of the risk of you getting the product. If you're going to get something out of these that is really innovative, you're going to get it in a timely manner, and you can use it and it's going to make you happy, then you're going to find yourself like you did the best thing. You supported people that did a great thing, and you got, first and foremost, a product or a service that virtually nobody else on the planet has. This comes with the risk because at times you might get it and it might be very short-lived, or you might not. So leverage my experience after I've been investing on pledging on more than 25, probably even more than $30,000 across more than 140 Kickstarter campaigns. Honest review from Kickstarter, guys. I hope you enjoyed this, and the next one is going to be about Indiegogo, but I'm also going to start reviewing some of the products that I am receiving from Kickstarter, because you might see that actually some of those companies are still around. They're still making other enhanced version of their products, so you might want to hear my stories about them. Bye guys, take care.